Hey guys, today I'm going to be officially retiring my hook. This hook right here I have been using since I was 8 years old. It is a boy hook and it is worn out. It used to be gold and now it's like silver on the parts where I hold it. And this thing has probably, I don't know, thousands of miles worth of yarn on it. Anyway, this thing is so important to me and I always freak out whenever I have to travel somewhere and I'm like, if I lose this on a plane or if I drop this somewhere out of my bag, like this would be devastating to lose. So I've started experimenting with different hooks and I actually fell in love with clover hooks. If I lose this clover hook, I know I can buy it again. This doesn't have history like this one does. So I thought a really cool way to memorialize my hook would be to frame it, and why not take the opportunity to show you guys how to frame Mosaic Crochet Swatches as well. This all goes back to when I was going through all of my swatches because my husband has been using them to make other crazy projects. I reserved a few special ones. So this was my very first Mosaic Crochet swatch. This isn't based on a pattern or anything. This was just something that I worked on when I first learned how to do Mosaic Crochet. And so this is important to me to keep, but I don't want to shove a hook in here. But this is just to show you that you can frame whatever you like. And some patterns are big enough to be kind of like works of art on their own. This is the mini Gothica pattern. This is the wall hanging. And this is actually like exactly 8 by 10, which would fit really good in an 8 by 10 frame. I don't want to like dismount this thing from the pole here, but yeah, if you wanted to frame this instead of putting it on a dowel or anything, that would work out really well. This one I did a while ago. I took it out of the frame just because we're in the process of moving and I needed the frame for more like normal artwork around my house anyway. But this one, I'll show you a little bit closer up, but this one fits in a 11 by 14 frame. So you can just make them as big as you like. So the swatch that I'm going to be using for this project is the Big Skull pattern. This one means so much to me because this is kind of like the pattern that launched my whole career. So I would like that one to be the thing that's framed. Also, I just used up leftover yarn. You barely need any yarn for swatches. Anyway, so let's go over to my desk and I will show you how to frame swatches. Okay, so you want to start out with a swatch that is close to the same size as the opening of the frame that you want to use. This one's pretty close. If you want to do the exact same swatch of the Big Skulls pattern, I'll leave the instructions for making this bigger in the description of the video. The frame I'm using is supposed to be a 5 by 7, but when I measured it, the opening actually ends up being 4.5 by 6.5 inches. So that is what I'm going to base this off of. The best way to make sure that this fits in this frame is to steam block this to the correct size. If you have a big swatch like this and you grossly underestimate how much you need for the top and for the bottom in order to fit it into a frame, don't worry, you can turn this upside down and just add extra double crochet rows at the very bottom, and this will hide into the inside of the frame, and also just keep adding rows to the top, and hopefully that'll help it fit into the size that you need. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pinned this about 1/4 inch larger at the top and on the sides in order to hide all of these border stitches and the top of the row and the bottom of the row behind the actual frame itself. So then just lightly steam your piece and don't iron it. Don't ever iron crochet. But yeah, using a steamer real quick to relax the stitches will help to flatten this out to the shape that you really want it to be. And then wait till it cools down and is completely dry, and we can take the pins out and get ready to put it in the frame. Okay, now we are ready to take apart the frame. So we can put this aside for now. And for this part, if you are more comfortable wearing gloves to protect your hands from the glass, I recommend doing that now. They don't polish the edges of these glass frames, and we are going to be actually wrapping this around the glass. So we are going to start with the frame face down, take out any pieces of paper or any backing, and we're just going to be carefully using the glass. Now we're going to align our crochet swatch in the middle here and place the glass on top of it. So we are basically wrapping the glass with the crochet swatch, and be very careful when you do this. And don't worry about if this part is still hiding under it, we can grab that later. But for now, we're going to make sure all of the border stitches and the tail ends are on the outside here. And when you're working with very large frames, like anything like 8x10 and up, I would definitely recommend taking these tail ends, wrapping them over, and using a piece of like packing tape or duct tape or something very strong to hold this side so you can manipulate the other side and straighten everything out. Once you have it as aligned as you think is necessary, we are going to fold these little tail ends in here. Again, if you want to use tape to hold them, especially if you have frames that are really tight on the edges like this one seems to be, we're going to try and do it without tape. And you can take the back and hold that in place here while you work the other side in. Again, be very careful with the glass edge while you're doing this. Some frames are easier to do than others. This one might want to be taped. I'll let you know. And once you get it in as well as you can, slide the back pieces back over. I feel like every picture frame I have has a different way of closing this up. And now we are going to flip it over and work our stitches in because they are probably going to be popping out. So if you push down a little bit, you should be able to squeeze this part in here. There's usually a lot of give with these picture frames because some people put very thick pieces of paper in here, so they're kind of designed to have a little bit of give. So if you work that in there and kind of move your way around, kind of pull the frame up and squeeze those stitches underneath, and just work your way around until it looks good to you. All right, I think this is looking pretty good. I'm a little nervous to shove my crochet hook in here and hopefully not pop out all the edges, but you know what? You could stop at this point and not shove a hook in it. But I think I'm going to try and kind of make it coming out of the top of his head and right around where his mouth is. Let's see. I did this one, it was not mounted and it looked kind of cool, so there we go. And there it is, a memorialized hook and framed swatch. I hope this video gives you lots of inspiration for you to maybe memorialize some of your antique hooks, or maybe just your first hook. I have some very interesting video ideas planned for the next couple months. Things should be very interesting. Looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. Bye!